Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, a Nintendo game so scary it had to be canceled. It's dangerous to go alone. The Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including the reveal of a new Mega Man 11 Robot Master. And then on Thursday, come back because we are going to be talking dance games with Rachel Chapman, and that's super fun. But in the meantime, Mark, how are you?
I am feeling great. And part of the reason
why
I'm feeling great is because we keep getting so many Switch friend requests.
Oh my gosh.
From listeners, and it's so much fun.
I love it. I was at Comic-Con this weekend, or this week, I guess. And when I came back and turned my Switch on, I had like 6 friend requests waiting there for me.
Yeah, keep it coming.
I
really love it.
I love it. So as usual, our friend codes will be in the episode description here. So grab those up, add us, and we'll accept you right back and have a good time sort of seeing what we're playing. I really like seeing what other people are playing.
Yeah, me too. It's really fun. It's also fun to see how much time people have put into different games.
Yes, and be like, I don't know how anyone spent that much time playing Snake Pass. No one spent that much time playing Snake Pass. That's a lie.
Snake Pass is really our go-to, like, we're just going to poke that game.
I'm just
till it bites.
And it never will, because that snake is friendly. What's his name? Rope?
Noodle.
Rope is a bad name for a snake. You can also, follow us on Twitter. I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at NinCart Society. We're also on Facebook. The show is just Nintendo Cartridge Society there.
While you got your computer out, while you've got your phone out, while you're like typing things into your computer or your phone.
Type.
Yep.
And you got to take the opportunity to do all these things while you're at your computer or on your phone, because you don't know when that's going to happen again.
Exactly. Because you're a person about town.
That's right. A man or woman about town.
But here's the thing. There's a couple things you don't want to miss out on.
Yeah.
While you have your phone out or your computer out or your tablet out or you're like dictating things into Google Assistant.
A dictaphone. Right. What are one of these things? Give me one of these things.
Oh, you should.
Yes.
Very soon send us your picks
mm-hmm.
or your not picks for the top 8 Nintendo RPGs, RPGs on Nintendo platforms
That's
of
right.
all time.
We are seeking picks and anti-picks for the top 8 RPGs on Nintendo
But you got to get
platforms.
that in fast because
this is happening next week, Mark. So like a week from when you're listening to this, it will be too late.
Something, however, that seems like it'll go on forever, like the musical Cats, now and forever, is the Sonic Forces
That's right.
borrowing program.
We recently learned that they're going to make a Cats movie, and all sorts of insane people are in it. I forget all of them now. Who's in this Cats movie, Mark?
I don't know what you're talking about.
There's like some big celebrities, which I guess you would have to. Otherwise, why bother making Cats? Why bother making Cats? Look, if you want to make your own cat avatar in Sonic Forces and play as that character, boy, howdy can you ever. And you can play it with my copy of Sonic Forces, and all you have to do to get a hold of it is send an email with your physical mailing address to Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. Coincidentally, that's also where you can send your list of 8 RPGs that you think we need to either remember to put on our list or that we absolutely should not put on that list. So far, I've only been getting suggestions of games that have to go on.
I mean, we're a positive bunch.
We are a positive bunch. We're good people. But if anyone really wants to blackball, the original Final Fantasy, like you're running out of time. You have to do it now or forever hold your peace. Mark, are you ready to get into what we've been playing this week?
I am.
Good.
Got one word for you.
Oh, yeah?
Octopath Traveler.
That sounds like 2 words.
Not if you say it fast enough.
And if I didn't know that Octopath was one word, I would say that sounds like 3 words.
I've been playing Octopath Traveler.
Yeah. How have you collected all of the characters?
I have. I've collected all of the characters.
Mhm.
I did the second chapter for Therian.
Who was your starting character?
Who's my starting character? And I have totally reached the point that you were talking about in our impressions episode that released last Thursday, where you're just kind of like wandering around.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not high enough level to do the second chapters for a lot of the other characters.
Right.
So now I'm just kind of like
wandering
going around.
Have you encountered any of the? Because I was talking to my buddy Pete about the like the double classing or like getting the second.
No,
jobs.
I haven't.
You haven't encountered one yet.
No. So, but I was talking to somebody else about the game, and they were saying, friend of the show, June.
Oh yes.
And he was saying that he like found an item that enabled it in like one of those caves we were talking about. Haven't found that cave.
Well, I would assume that there are 8 different caves.
Oh, potentially. Yeah, sure.
Each with their own item that allows this double.
I'm loving it. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Here's the thing. I'm sure that this is the kind of game where you could get a strategy guide or you like pick a walkthrough or whatever, but it feels so wide open that feels like a dishonest way to play this game.
Yeah, and
I don't want to look up anything.
One of my New Year's resolutions, gaming resolutions, was to play games in a way that I haven't in the past. And so that's exactly what I want to do with this game, where it's just like, I'm just going to let this game happen to me.
I think it's too wide open to like try to impose some kind of order on it.
Right. I'm not going to like try to like min-max my characters in the most optimal way possible.
Right. You're never going to do it, Mark.
Speaking of Octo things, I played a little bit of Splatoon 2.
Where did you hop in for the Splatfest?
I did, yeah. I was on Team Octopus because I just wanted to play as like.
You wanted to play an Octoling? And how was that for you?
It was
fun.
Yeah, I realized that I like didn't even notice I was playing as an Octoling until I remembered that was one of the perks of doing so, and I was like, oh yeah, I guess they are a little bit different.
I guess he does look a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I think if you're playing as like an Octoling girl, there's more difference.
Yeah, that their hair is like a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that seemed like a fun Splatfest to hop in on. I wish I would have been around, but I was at Comic-Con where I got another opportunity to play Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. This time only 2 fights though. And you know, I don't really know what else to say about Smash Brothers except that it is super fun and all the characters, every character that I have played as just feels like a good version of those characters, and the levels are all like fun and huge and beautiful, and I just want this game to come out.
Yeah, I can't wait.
All right, that's what we've been playing this last week, but let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
So the big release for today is the Mega Man X Legacy Collections, Legacy Collection 1 and Legacy Collection 2. They're $20 each on the eShop or $40 in the like retail version, which only includes the first game, and then you download the second one anyways.
So wait a minute. If you were to buy them separately, it's $19.99 and $19.99, and if you buy them together, it's $39.99 and not $39.98. So it's more expensive to buy them together than to buy them separately. Mark, is this what you're telling me?
That is what I'm telling you.
Capitalism, man. There is no ethical.
Capcomitalism.
Nope. Go ahead.
No, that was it. That's all I had.
All right, good.
And then on Thursday, Banner Saga 3 is coming out.
They recently announced that they are releasing a physical version of the Banner Saga whole trilogy.
Uh-huh.
I assume that that's not happening at the same time.
I believe that's true, but also the Banner Saga trilogy, it seems like it's going to be another Legacy Collection type situation where you will have to. The entire collection won't actually be on the game cart. You'll have to download at least part of it.
Sure. So also like the Resident Evil
Revelations
collection.
Yeah, exactly. And then on Friday, the Go Vacation is coming out.
What is Go Vacation?
I think the easiest way to explain it is it's like Bandai Namco's Wii Sports Resort type game.
Okay.
I think this was released for Wii initially, and then this is like a remaster of it that's
Oh,
coming
interesting.
out.
Yeah, this was in some sort of Nintendo promotional video or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Um,
The game is remembered fondly by a lot of people, so I think that there is some excitement for Go Vacation.
that's interesting. A couple weeks ago when Sarah's parents were here, we were like looking for things to do with them, and that did include games. We did some Labo, and then I also threw 1-2 Switch into the machine for the first time in since my parents played it and came on the podcast to talk about it. So like I think that there is still like a space for those kinds of games that you could show to your parents.
Yeah,
or, like, older
absolutely. I
people.
mean, 10 years on, the Wii looks very quaint,
Yeah.
but there's a reason why it was a phenomenon.
Yeah, because anyone could play it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And any of these games strike your fancy here,
I'm
Mark?
a little bit tempted by one of the Mega Man X Legacy collections. I don't know which one to necessarily get, but like we talked about last week, the reason I'm tempted is because there's an easy mode, and it's like, oh, I'm not going to have to
Right.
kill myself to experience these games.
I think if there's one of them that I'm interested in, it would be the first X Legacy collection.
Is that because those are the games you're most familiar with and want to
Yes.
replay?
Mhm. Yeah, well, and I know I had, or a roommate of mine had, an X collection for like PlayStation 2 or something that I believe had X 1 through 6, and I remember being confused and just bewildered by the later Mega Man X games, that they seemed so weird, and there was one of them that almost had like procedurally generated levels, and I was like, this is not what I think of as Mega Man. And just the designs get a little bit more, I don't know, that it becomes less and less like the series that I liked with the first one, as it goes on. So I think 1 through 4 is probably where I get off the train. I want to be excited about Banner Saga 3, but I did not get very far in that first Banner Saga.
And there's a whole second Banner Saga that you would need to get caught up on.
That's right. So I'm not gonna get it on that. All right, Mark. Let's get out of the new releases. And now it's time for a regular segment on our show. It's time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance of 433, Mark and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, we have decided that today we are going to talk about Back to the Future Part 3.
I think it came up in like a peripheral sense in one of our episodes recently. I don't know why it's on my mind.
Well, Sarah and I recently watched Back to the Future Part 3 because she wanted to watch a Back to the Future movie, but was like, I don't want to watch the first one. I've seen the first one a bunch of times. And really, like, 2 is sort of weird to watch in isolation. I think it's got like the most interesting stuff to say about time travel, or like it is actually about traveling through time. Whereas both 3 and 1 are like, you just put the characters in a different time period, and then their adventures are about that.
2 is fun in the beginning,
Yeah.
but it becomes like quite the bummer in like the middle and by the end.
Yeah. Well, and like by the end, you're seeing so much stuff from the first one, which like as a sequel to a movie that came out a couple years ago is sort of fun. But if you're ever like trying to shotgun the series, like that part of 2 is like, I kind of just watched all these scenes.
3 was my favorite when I was little, and I feel like it's the Return of the Jedi type thing where the second entry is so dark
Yeah.
that the third one goes in like the opposite direction,
Right,
and so
you
it's
just
very
needed
like
that.
kid friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very approachable. It's very fun.
I like 3 for a lot of reasons. I mean, first of all, I think it's almost crazy that 2 and 3 were filmed like back to back, because they're so tonally different, that they like had this whole like arc in mind, or not, and just like, here, we wrote one script, we wrote another script, now let's just film them back to back. Because Back to the Future 3 does such like a purposeful job of not making Marty the main character and making Doc the main character. that like, and Doc used to have like a love interest and like all these other things that like the series seems to have not acknowledged up to that point. Really just like shows that there's so much more to these characters in this world than we would have imagined before.
Yeah, 3 really feels like everybody knew it was going to be the last one.
Yeah.
And everybody wanted it to be the last one, and so it was just like, what ideas do you have? Oh, it'd be fun to go to the Wild West.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
oh, what haven't we seen before?
Yeah.
Like that sort of thing. Okay. The one thing that I still to this day think is so stupid in all 3 Back to the Future movies is the running like gag of like Marty can't be called chicken.
It does strain credibility.
It
right?
really wears thin.
Yeah. Because it's like, come on, man. You're trying not to mess up the space-time continuum. Like, just take the insult and move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then in the Wild West, like being called Yella, like that does it for him. Come on, Marty. Just get back to where this guy's got a gun. He's gonna shoot you with a like. I get it when it's a bully egging you on. Fine. This guy is a criminal, has a gun, has murdered people.
Also, learn from the past.
Please learn.
You
from the
have
past.
2 other movies of doing this. Like, show some growth.
Yes.
Be like, oh, this doesn't bother me anymore. I have moved past this. I become wiser as I become older, as I've experienced more things.
And that is actually what happens by the end of Back to the Future 3. Like he goes out with like a bulletproof vest, so he did learn from Doc at the end of the first one, right? But like that he wins by not killing the bad guy or by not like facing him in a gunfight.
So I think that 3 doesn't have like the best reputation.
Yeah.
But of the sequels that have been filmed like back to back, do we think that it's the most successful? Like the other ones I'm thinking of were the Pirates of the Caribbean movies 2 and 3. Those were filmed simultaneously.
Right.
The Matrix movies were filmed simultaneously.
Right.
I guess the Lord of the Rings movies,
all of them were filmed
at the same
is the
time.
thing. Well, I mean, if we count the Lord of the Rings, I feel like Lord of the Rings is the most successful.
Agreed.
Because those movies are all good. Although I guess I think these movies are all good. I think Back to the Futures are all good.
Yeah, I think like these are good in the same way that the Lord of the Rings movies are, where it's like, yeah, they're all good to varying degrees.
Yeah. There's one thing about Back to the Future 3 that I've been trying to wrap my head around. The ravine that Clara Clayton is supposed to... Oh, well.
Well, I guess we'll never know.
We will never know. We were accompanied today by pianist Jürgen Dahmen. All right, Mark, let's get into the news.
We talked about it a little bit earlier, but the Splatoon 2 Global Splatfest was this past weekend, celebrating the game's first anniversary. It was Squids versus Octopus. Squid won, but Octopus was by far the most popular team to be on.
This is a trend.
Yeah, just continues to prove that if your goal is to win, be on the winning team of a Splatfest, choose the option you think is going to be least popular.
I'm still not 100% sure where any of these numbers come from, other than like the percentage of people who picked one side versus the other. Like I don't know what the win percentages mean for solo versus team. I don't know what those percentages mean.
So I still don't entirely understand what the difference between solo and team play is.
No, neither do I, especially in a Splatfest. Like I would almost venture to guess that it's all made up.
See, I don't agree with that. I'm willing to believe that it's true. I just don't understand it.
Sure. So you're just willing to believe whatever anyone tells you.
Absolutely.
The authority says, here's what the numbers say, and you just blindly march along and agree with them.
Yeah, okay. South Park: The Stick of Truth is coming to Switch by September. So it's just going to be released digitally.
Okay.
The Stick of Truth is, of course, the first game in those like South Park RPGs. The second game, The Fractured Butthole, came out earlier this year.
Yes.
Weird that this game is coming out now.
Sure. So I mean, one reason that yes, it is weird that it's coming out now. But one thing to note is that the Stick of Truth was not a current generation game. It was originally on PS3 and Xbox 360. So they only re-released it on current generation hardware as a like pre-order bonus for the Fractured But Whole. And obviously that game came to Switch after it came to all those other places. So I see where like the window to put it out on Switch was missed. But yeah, putting it out now seems like oh, what and why?
But I guess like doing it digitally, like digital only,
Yeah,
reduces the risk because it's just like,
yeah.
after the work has been done, we'll just put it up there, and
People
if
will
people
buy it or
buy it
not.
or they won't.
I mean, it must mean that Fractured But Whole was successful for them on Switch, right?
Yes, that or the timing between the two was so like close that
Mm,
the momentum was already going, and it's
yeah,
just like, okay, like we might as well release it at this point. I'm sure it did fine.
yeah.
Like I believe that the South Park game did fine. You played the Fractured Butthole.
Mm-hmm.
Are you and enjoyed it? So are you interested in picking up Stick of Truth?
I
Have you
am.
played it previously?
I had not, no.
Okay.
But yeah, I am interested in picking up the Stick of Truth. Um, I liked Fractured Butthole a lot, even though like it gets sort of overly long by the end. And everything I've read about the Stick of Truth is that it is a very tight experience. So yeah, I'll pick that up for sure.
Last week, Nintendo added some Breath of the Wild content to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It wasn't like new tracks or carts or anything. Link has his blue Breath of the Wild tunic
Mm-hmm.
as an option, I'm guessing. And
Yeah, you can switch between. It's like the same as picking the villager and then selecting
sure.
its gender.
And the Master Cycle Zero is a new bike, kind of. He already had a motorcycle, but now it's just has a different
Right.
skin.
Now it looks like the Master Cycle Zero, which, like cool, but the Master Cycle Zero is something that you have to like have played that game for 120 hours
Well,
whatever
and
to
bought
ever see.
like DLC.
Yeah, so it seems like kind of a deep cut for them to put in there. Mark, what's going on?
I don't know. I don't like the timing of this seems really weird. It just came out of nowhere,
Yeah.
apropos of nothing.
Yeah.
Like it's not like it was the anniversary of Breath of the Wild
Nope.
or Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
No, it just came out. Like and no fanfare about it either. Like it just like last week on Thursday or something. There's like, here you go.
And look, I am all about new content for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Absolutely.
Like I would love if they turned it into a platform rather than just like a one and done game.
Yes.
Like if they kept releasing new, I guess I don't really care about new carts. It's really like new tracks or
Yeah.
new characters. Like that would be super like fun and interesting, and I would keep paying for it.
Oh yeah, I mean if they did a new circuit like every year, every 6 months, I would buy it every single time until they stop doing it.
Yeah, I would actually almost like prefer they do that
Yeah.
instead of come out with like a Mario Kart 9 this generation.
Yeah. I mean it is hard cuz like, a new I don't know, maybe we've just reached a point where like a new Mario Kart game isn't really necessary. We just need to continue to build on the foundation that's there.
Well, and I think like after when like the Super Switch comes out or whatever,
Sure, we won't explain what we mean by that.
it's the natural progression of things from
Right.
Nintendo to Super Nintendo,
I mean,
from Switch to Super Switch.
it'll be new Switch is what it'll be. Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. New Switch 2D XL.
New Switch U is what it'll be called. Ugh.
Yeah, when there's, like whatever the next generation of console is, it makes sense to have a Mario Kart 9 at that point.
Yeah.
But and look, I'm sure Mario Kart 8 Deluxe will continue to sell great through the Switch's entire life. But yeah, I would love if I would pay $20 for 2 new circuits. I'd
Yeah.
pay $10 for one new circuit.
For sure.
There's also Breath of the Wild content coming to Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate when it releases this August. So it's the same stuff that was previously available in Japan, but we didn't get that. So it's new to us.
Right?
It's a special like Link tunic for your hunter, a special weapon, it's a bow, and then an outfit for your cat monster thing.
Sure. They're called like
Meows.
paw. we don't know, but we both tried.
And that's good enough for me.
And for me, do you think it is at all weird that we are getting all of these like little add-on things for games where you can put characters in like Link's blue tunic from Breath of the Wild? Like that was an option in Skyrim. And I know there are others. They're just not coming to me right now. But like the blue is like slowly supplanting the like iconic green tunic.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even in Breath of the Wild itself, you can get that kind of like classic green tunic, and when you get it, you're like, "Oh, this is cool," and immediately are
Right.
putting on something more fun.
Well, it's something that's going to give you a buff in some dimension or something you've been leveling up. Yeah. Yeah. It's weird. I wonder if we're going to. I wonder what the next Zelda game, what Link looks like. I wonder what he's wearing.
Bandai Namco has announced Digimon Survive coming to Switch and PS4 next year in Japan. It's the first time in a few years that a Digimon game is coming to a Nintendo platform. Um,
Interesting.
Digimon also seems crazy. I did not realize I did not realize Digimon games could be like this. It's a survival RPG
Buh?
that combines 2D and 3D gameplay. So there's like 2D point and click style like battle investigations, and then the battles themselves
Battle investigation.
battlefield investigations.
Again, you were just gonna blow right past that without
I
explaining.
can't
yourself.
explain it. How could I possibly explain what that means? It means I'm like, I don't know. I
Yeah,
wish
sure,
I knew.
Sure.
And then strategy style battles. So like has like the grid. I'm thinking like Fire Emblem. I don't know.
Sure.
Digimon is a mystery to me. I thought it was like Pokemon. It is apparently not like Pokemon.
It sounds like it is everything to everyone.
Yeah, it's like Phoenix or not. Yeah, sure. Phoenix Wright crossed with Fire Emblem, crossed with Pokemon. Somebody explain Digimon to me. Somebody explain what Digimon is now to me, because I feel like I knew what it once was.
Well, you assumed that it was like Pokemon.
It had to have been.
You can write into us, Nintendo Cartridge Society
At gmail.com.
and succinctly, please explain what Digimon is.
Yeah,
And
I'm
Mark,
genuinely curious.
Mark, I don't want you to look it up.
I
between now and
won't.
Next time.
You
Great.
know I won't.
I know
I'm
you're
too
right,
lazy.
You're right.
Last week, Epic released Unreal Engine 4.2. It promises significant improvements for Switch development, including, quote, tons of performance improvements built for Fortnite on Nintendo Switch that are now available for all developers.
Well, good for Fortnite, I guess, leading the way in.
Makes sense. It's an
Yeah.
Epic developed title.
Yeah, but it's just funny that like it takes something that successful and that big for for Epic to work on the engine a little bit and be like, oh yeah, and everyone can use these tools, by the way. Epic's been really cool about a lot of their like developer tools lately. It's just interesting to see a company that's actually and maybe they all are. I don't know. I'm assuming that people are more greedy than.
Well, I
than
feel like
that.
it's different when most of the other like big engines outside of like Unity, but like that the big developers are using are internal, tools that have been developed.
Sure.
It's I don't think Frostbite is available for anybody to license.
Right.
It's just for EA. And so I feel like that's kind of the difference where I'm sure Frostbite's being enhanced all the time.
Yeah,
but we don't
just
hear
never
about it
find out
because
about it. Right.
the greater gaming community isn't the beneficiary of that.
Right.
At San Diego Comic-Con, Capcom revealed Torchman, a new villain, robot master coming to Mega Man 11.
I love this. I love that they're like rolling these things out like it's a new Smash Brothers game, and like every new boss, every new level is like an event. That's so cool to me. It's not a fighting game, but they're selling it like it is.
As part of the reveal, part of the press release, they kind of did like a rundown of what you can expect in the stage, and I won't quote it here, but it sounds intense.
Oh yeah.
And also defeating Torchman grants the Blazing Torch ability. The ability diagonally fires a ball of fire.
Sounds great.
Sounds great. Shack News recently did an interview with Bethesda's Pete Hines and took the opportunity to ask him about Bethesda's Switch support. Bethesda's been one of the bigger third-party developers on Switch, releasing games like Doom and Skyrim and recently Wolfenstein 2.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, he says that Bethesda wants to continue supporting Switch with, quote, whatever we're making that will run and run well, end quote.
Does that sound like a real commitment to you, or like whatever will run and run well?
Well, it seems like, I guess we don't really know how Wolfenstein is done, but it seems like the other games have done well,
Yeah,
or
well
within
enough, yeah.
expectations. So, if they're able to give it to a company like Panic Button, and Panic Button is able to turn out a quality port like they have been doing, and it turns a profit,
Yeah.
like why not? Especially since Bethesda is one of the few developers that is been very vocal about their commitment to single player games.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure they're always looking for new avenues of like sales for those types of games,
Yeah.
and they don't necessarily require all of the online accoutrements that
Right.
a
That is
game on the Xbox or like
right.
PS4 might require.
And that like a Switch is going to maybe struggle to deliver on because that online infrastructure isn't quite there. Um, which yeah, I mean like we can guess that we're not going to see Fallout 76, for example, on Switch, but like maybe they bring a different Fallout game there.
Yeah, and like I don't know that I wouldn't expect to see Starlink or
Or
Elder
Elder
Scrolls
Scrolls
6,
6. Yeah.
because those are probably being built with big ambitions, but you never know.
Well, and Elder Scrolls 6 isn't going to be out until like
Right.
2024 anyway. So because Starlink comes out first, and that's also a ways away. So yeah, we don't know anything about anything at this
Yeah.
point.
Maybe we'll see it on Super Switch.
We'll see it on new Super Switch U.
According to PC Gamer, two ROM hosting website, Love ROMs and Love Retro, have been named in a recent lawsuit by Nintendo. The filing alleges the Love ROMs website alone receives 17 million visitors each month. Such visitors are drawn to the website by the widespread availability. I'm reading from court filing at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Availability of free, unauthorized copies of Nintendo's video games and other highly valuable intellectual property. The resulting popularity of defendants' Love ROMs and Love Retro website has allowed defendants to reap substantial ill-gotten gains, including through donations and the sale of advertising on the Love ROMs and Love Retro websites.
So Nintendo is coming for pirates.
Well, I mean, so yes,
Okay.
but like I feel like there's a little bit of a I don't know, like old games are such a weird
Yeah.
area where it's like,
Are you still selling this in a marketplace where I can buy it?
and in a lot of instances maybe you are like Super Mario Brothers 3 is super available. You can
Yeah.
go out and buy that legitimately.
Super available Brothers 3.
But there yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't know the specifics. If you're a website that's hosting ROMs of games that Nintendo is actively, putting out there on their own platforms at a price, then yeah, that's not like that is not a gray area to me. That is like you should be buying those.
Right. But I mean, it's also like I could see there are so many games that are available now, like on the Wii U eShop and nowhere else. And like I could also understand someone being like, "Oh, I don't own a Wii U, and I'm never like." I sort of I get like the kind of twist of the morality about it. But like obviously legally, totally within their rights to be like, "Hey, stop hosting our stuff." Do you think any of this portends a like virtual console?
I don't. I think Nintendo is generally very aggressive about protecting their IP.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, I think that if these sites like weren't didn't have advertising or weren't, like if they were just hosting the ROM of some like terrible Nintendo first party NES game,
Yeah.
I think it would be less of an issue.
Yeah. Just that they're making money from it seems like, and is sort of a slap in the face. But like I don't know, but the whole thing is very very messy for me because like do I don't steal like anything online. I don't steal music. I pay for my comics online, movies, everything. I don't torrent anything. And it's been a really long time since I've downloaded like a ROM or an emulator or anything, like probably since college. Um, but like in college, it was nice to have access to those things. And I think it was just like the novelty of it at the time of like my computer can have all these Nintendo games and it cost me nothing. Um, whereas now, I can just get a NES Classic and it's got 30 Nintendo games and maybe that's good enough. I don't know. It's interesting that they're going so hard against these things, and like why now and why not 10 years ago when I was doing it.
So Nintendo is seeking $150,000 for each game hosted, plus $2 million for each IP infringement.
What do you think counts as an IP infringement? Just using the word Mario?
Yeah, man, I don't know. Basically, the sites are effectively shut down until further notice,
Makes sense
which
to
I
me.
think was probably the goal of the lawsuit in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, do you remember that Dylan's Dead Heat Breakers was released just a few short weeks ago?
If you recall, I played a bunch of that game and talked about it on this show. So yes, I have forgotten.
In an interview with Kotaku, Nintendo producer Kensuke Tanabe expressed his desire for more people to play the game and, basically even know that it exists. He says, quote, "I really only know what people are saying online. What I see personally is that many people are not aware this game has been released, and I want more people to play the game," end quote.
Okay, I mean, this plays into exactly what we were saying about it, though, right? That
Right.
like there was a first-party Nintendo game that came out a couple months ago, and no one was talking about it. I didn't see reviews for it. I didn't see tweets about it. No one said or did anything about it.
Okay, so he continues saying, "I bet the players who like Dylan and the setting are actually pretty secretive about it."
Oh.
Which I like in general because it are Dylan fans like have they been shamed into silence?
I mean,
This is not a
possibly.
popular IP.
I mean, Dylan does have a lot sort of in common. I think I mentioned this at the time that it feels a little like Sonic the Hedgehog-y. So maybe we just did a successful
Oh yeah,
job
because
of
like
shaming
Sonic
those
fans are real quiet.
No, but I'm saying
Oh,
that
I
we
see.
succeeded
Yes.
with Dylan fans where
Yes.
we did not succeed with Sonic
I
fans.
understand.
If you would like to borrow my copy of Sonic Mania, please send your address
Forces.
to Nintendo card. Yeah, sorry, what did I say? Mania? You may not have my copy of Sonic Mania. It's digital. Nintendo Cartridge Society
at gmail.com. He also goes on to say, "It's not like a popular restaurant, so there won't suddenly be a sudden crowd or a long wait time or anything. So to any new players who have an interest now after reading this article, please give it a try. You won't regret it."
That's a sad state of affairs.
It is a little bit, right? Did you enjoy the game enough to recommend it? I remember it was super chatty. It's all coming back to me now.
Yes, it is too chatty. And the more that I played of it, it just continued to be chatty. I think the gameplay of it is super fun, and when it is being like a mix between like Mario Kart and Fire Emblem and like kind of Zelda combat, that's great. That stuff's super fun. And the world is interesting, but man, do these characters chat at each other for a long time, and they all have those voices. I was like, but they're cute, so I don't know. Soft recommend.
And finally, and perhaps most importantly, maybe the most important news item we've ever talked about on this show.
Sure, I mean we led the show with it, so.
In the same interview, Tanabe revealed that 8 years ago, Nintendo and the company Vanpool, who are the developers of the Dylan games, were
and not a spin-off Deadpool character.
That's right.
Who drives a van.
The two companies were developing a horror game starring
Tingle from Zelda.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I know Tingle's had a couple games.
Yes.
In Japan.
Right.
They never make their way over to the States.
No, I don't understand why. I think we would love it.
You think we would love it?
I think we would love a Tingle game.
Now, do you think it would just like Nintendo super fans that would love it, or like there's an actual market for these things?
I think you make Tingle a mobile game character.
Oh yeah.
Like it's like one of those like Candy Crush
like
type
a match
games.
3 puzzler.
Yeah. Like a Bejeweled.
Mm-hmm.
And you would love it.
Yeah, sure.
You would love it.
I would love it. No, I think I would play any of these Tingle games. His like Ruby Quest or whatever it is. I would play that if it were here in the States.
No, they were developing a horror game, but they canceled it probably because it was too scary.
And that's our working theory right now, is that the game was too scary. Your protagonist is Tingle, so already you're at an elevated state. You're feeling a lot. Adrenaline is running high, and then like a ghost jumps out or something. What do you think this game
I
was?
can't even imagine.
Like, what were
Do you
the
think it was
enemies?
intentionally scary, or do you think like they were developing a Tingle game and then they just like all got bad feelings about it, like they had just seen The Exorcist or something?
Maybe that's it. And then Tingle's head spun around and he vomited like pea soup.
So they like took it somewhere in the woods of Kyoto and just like buried any like development machine they were using.
That's right. So our goal for you listeners is to find this unmarked grave in the forests of Kyoto and unearth it so that we can
We don't want to release that into the world.
We do. We want to bring it back like Pet Cemetery style, right? So that this game can be reintroduced. An evil version of this probably already evil game can be reintroduced into the wild. I want to see evil Tingle.
Oh, Patrick, why would you meddle with forces we don't understand?
I meddled first with Sonic Forces that I didn't understand. Nintendo Cartridge Society
at gmail.com.
And now I just want to see Tingle, and then I'll buy this game and lend it out to people, and the cycle of horror continues.
Insert quote from Dark Knight here.
All right, Mark, let's move out of the news. That is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, subscribe, all that good stuff on Apple Podcasts. If you like this episode, it would help us out a lot if you would share it on whatever social media platform you use. On Twitter, I am at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell. The show collectively is at NinCart Society.
And remember, you only have 1 week to get in your top 8 RPGs.
6 days, some would say. And who knows? We might end up recording on like Sunday or something. So tell us now your top 8 RPGs on Nintendo platforms, Nintendo Cartridge Society
at gmail.com.
If you like Mark and Mine's opinions, we do write about comic books on retconpunch.com. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying, beware the tingle. And thanks for listening.
Campfire.